Call the meeting to order. I'd like to invite everyone to rise and join in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Phyllis, would you have roll call, please?
Cam Collier.
Here.
Craig Koshaw.
Here.
Matt Dyer.
Here.
Tyler Fulenkamp.
Here.
Wiley Sirk.
Here. You all emailed a copy of our minutes from our May 2nd meeting. I have a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from our May 2nd meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Thank you. First topic on the agenda tonight is a tax abatement for P&B Trucking. If you would like to come forward to the table here, there's a microphone there. Analysis came in to City Hall for me to sign their abatement earlier this week. And there was just a little bit of a hiccup that I wanted, rather than just signing off on it, I thought I would bring it to before council. And there's reasons that things have happened the way they have. And they had an estimate of having an additional 4 to 5 employees, and they have 0. They had an estimate of salaries of $125,000 to $160,000, and Phyllis, that wouldn't be 0, or am I reading this wrong?
That's still a 0. That's a 0.
That's a 0, okay.
Yes, there's no additional employees. Those salaries were for the additional employees, which
There are none. And I'll let you explain the reasoning for this, and then what their future is. You know, rather than me just saying they're not in compliance and signing it, I thought we'd bring them here and let them defend themselves.
Mr. Mayor and Clerk and members of the council, I'm John Corbin, I'm an attorney in Portland. I have with me Eric Showalter, he's the operation manager of P&B. I will tell you that Pam and Bob regret not being here this evening. They are meeting with a financial consultant, and they're out of the area when this came up. Once we had the filing, I would tell you, as we came here before the city council years back to ask for the original abatement for the construction of the new warehouse, we were talking about how that warehouse fit into the abatement process and would add the jobs. As you probably know, P&B Trucking as a logistics company, hire drivers, move products, and have been storing products for local companies here in the area. That said, following the first filing, the abatement, they have continued to meet or exceed the estimates. The building is up. This year, however, there was just kind of a bleep in the process. One is that they have had an extremely difficult time in finding drivers. They are down in drivers, and I think they've talked with other companies that are in like situations with people that can qualify to drive the rigs. They also, the one warehouse, an additional warehouse that they had, which was sold to Rev. That's right. Created a situation where they were using these employees' warehousing as an integrated part of the business. The warehouse there, at the facility, the new warehouse at the facility, the Rev area. And as business was coming down, then that building was sold to encourage them to stay within the community. And I think there was some conversations with local people regarding that. but at the same time, it was kind of falling into what they were seeing happening. They are working very hard. Pam and Bob have advised me that they are looking for more drivers. They are also looking for more warehouse space. What has happened with the other process is that you had warehouse people that were moving products back and forth. Those were the new hires because they had put this building in. And so those, once there was not that demand to move that.
Because of the sale to Rev,
That's the rev.
the manufacturing plant on Patterson Street.
I would point out, and as I said, they have been in compliance with their estimates up until this year for the first time. And under the statute, it's kind of a unique statute. It's IC 6-1.1-12.1-5.9. A lot of points in that statute. And in the middle of that, it talks about filing your compliance statement, and it says that you file it with the body and the review, and that's what the mayor looked at and said, it appears you're out of compliance. I'd like for you to come in and explain that. And the middle part of that statute says, if the designated body determines that the property owner has not substantially complied with the statement of benefits and that the failure to substantially comply was not caused by factors beyond the control of the property owner, parentheses, such as declines in demand for property owner's products or services, the designated body shall mail a written notice to the property owner saying it's been denied. If you find that it really was in there and it wasn't due to a decrease in the demand for the products. We were here this evening to explain that we believe that that is the process that has happened to cause them to fall out of compliance with the estimated jobs. It still has retained the original jobs that were there. The building is there providing tax revenue to the county and the city from that new structure. We would certainly hope to be back next year and show that at least we're moving forward, that has changed. I mean, nobody wants that to change more than Pam and Bob, I'll tell you that. And Eric could also expand on that if you have questions, or we do believe, I've asked Pam, the prior employees were 45, currently we're 33, and it's been because of the drop. So,
Have they left to drive elsewhere?
pardon?
You were at 45, now you're at 33,
45 overall employees.
and now there's 33.
Yeah, there have been some that have gone to other companies. There have been a few that have retired. We've had at least one, possibly two, with some medical problems. So we've had some older drivers, and that's why the majority of them have left to go to other companies and things.
The original abatement was passed in 2012, went into effect July of 2013, correct? So this is year 4 or 5, how do you say it?
I would point out, I think the basis behind the statutory wording is to encourage people to come forward and make the initial investment, and then appears to work with them in the event that the economy turns south. It creates kind of a doubling effect with the economy going and then losing the abatement. So I think that's what that's in here when it talks about when you're projecting out the 10-year period. I think that creates that's a crystal ball. And as I said, they have met those since the original abatement was adopted and passed, and we certainly are working hard to get back that employment, because that means the company's growing and doing the things that you want them to do.
So just to clarify, so when it was passed in 2013, the initial, it was met. I mean, we got the additional 4 to 5 employees. And over this last year, there's just been a decrease in employees because of other multiple circumstances.
Yes.
The reason I'm clarifying that is because this is very, very similar to the situation we just had with another logistics company. I think the difference there is that they never met that goal. They never got close to it.
I think they worked very hard. I think our estimates early on were right on. Then things even got better, then have fallen back. I think there was certainly, it was not oversold, I don't believe. In fact, we met them early on. There was nothing they have done intentionally to reduce the viability of their company, and they're working hard to kind of rebuild that or come back.
Question for the operations center. Have you got a plan to fix this and make it better, get it back on track?
We are actually spending hundreds of dollars on different job boards trying to bring in drivers. The industry as a whole is a little bit of a decline. There's some older drivers, a lot of them are retiring. Just a few different challenges as far as hours of service changes. They're bringing up an e-logging system that a lot of older drivers don't want anything to do with. And just, we're not getting a lot of younger drivers in. So we're working with our insurance company. We're working with some recruiting services to try to solve this problem as far as how to bring more drivers to Decatur. And we've done some outside advertising, we've had some success with that. But we just kind of experienced this dip right here that was somewhat unforeseen, just because freight rates are 120% higher this year than they were last year at this time. So more freight, drivers have the option to move around more, and a lot of these companies are making promises that I would be surprised if they would keep. We're just being straightforward, this is what it is. A lot of our freight moves to the East Coast. Some drivers don't want to go there. So there are some challenges, but I feel that Pam, Bob, and myself have a good plan to go forward and meet those challenges.
And I just wanted to bring it before council rather than me signing that they were or were not in compliance to discuss it. Maybe have a motion one way or another whether to allow or disallow.
John, I was just going to ask you, you filed for personal and real estate abatement. Is the personal over with? Has that expired or not? Or is it just the real estate? Was it both?
We just have the one.
I'm
sorry,
because I was thinking you guys filed for both, but maybe I'm wrong. Let me double check that. When did we file all the time?
It would have been right at the same time, right?
Yeah, I have a 10-year abatement for real estate and 5-year for personal, but maybe that's expired now. Because we just have the real estate.
Right, I think we've only filed one. I don't know that we've received any abatement on
the equipment.
Right.
Okay.
Ken, could you read again what the boxes, what the choices are, please?
It just says, we've reviewed the CF1 and find that the property owner is in substantial compliance, or the property owner is not in substantial compliance. And then there's one last box that says other, and then it says specify. I don't even know what you do there.
I would suggest that probably you would check that one if you accept what their explanation is and say that they're not in compliance, but it's due to circumstances beyond their control.
Yeah, that's the reason I was asking for that clarification, because
I agree with it.
because I think we have to acknowledge that they're not in compliance.
Correct.
That first box wouldn't be correct.
That's correct.
But we can acknowledge that and still approve for one more year the abatement. And then it would be reviewed again next year.
Right.
Correct.
I'll make a motion that we check the other box and that we bring them back next year for this time to give us another report to see if you're in compliance. Is that fair to you?
Well, would you check both of them, though?
I would just...
Check the other box.
If you check the property as not, then they're not going to get their
Right, I would
abatement.
check other and just say that they're not in
The
compliance,
explanation.
but it's due to circumstances beyond their
And
control.
I think we would then, if there is a question that comes from the auditor, we'd come back just for the clarification to show what they would require.
Could I have your copy of that statute?
And there is a place for Ken then to sign that approves it. So I think what we're saying is, they're not in compliance,
Thank
but
you.
that's not because of their fault, and so we're still granting the abatement.
If we can second.
I will second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve the abatement pending me checking the other box and specifying the Indiana code. I'm not even going to rattle it off. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, I have Kevin McCrory and with JPR. Go ahead, sir.
You just did that too.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
Because I met with
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kevin McCrory with
Nice job.
JPR is here tonight to go over in as much detail as we need the Madison Street project. Are you where you want to start there, Kevin?
Okay, I just want to get our...
Hold on. If you're going to turn that one, then we need this one turned up here.
And I also have a handout for everyone, so I think most of the images that you are going to
Thank you.
see
Good, Bob.
are also, well, not all the images are, but the important ones.
Thank you, sir. The last couple meetings, we've discussed this a little, and not really have we had an expert here to answer some of the questions, and we've made some assumptions, and so I thought we'd have Kevin come this evening to completely go over where we are with the project, how we got to that point. And this is pretty much at the 90%, or close to the 90%.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Yes, we are, Mayor, we are at 90%. In fact, we'll actually be that next week. I believe we're at the 90% review. And when I say 90%, I mean contract documents ready to go out to bid. That's both drawings, specifications, etc. The project, which is Madison Street Plaza, and I call it that because it is more than a street. It was originally conceived to be a place indicator that festivals, art, kind of an outdoor art gallery, if you will, both permanent and temporary art on display for special events. And as you see up on the board, Madison Street does run between 1st and 2nd Street. It's next to currently the Schaefer Building, which would be at the lower right there. You'll see a parking lot instead, and it's placed up there in the drawing because that's what's anticipated hopefully to happen once the building is raised here. So the street, we started with that premise, and there was a committee, and I think most all of them that are behind me are present tonight, are here, and also in addition, Mayor, you were in attendance at a lot of those meetings, and I know Melissa was, and Jeremy back there was in some of them, not maybe all of them, but a lot of them. So there were other people with the city represented. We started out with the premise that it was going to be a street that needed to function at times as a street and then be closed down. So starting with that, we came up with some design concepts that would reflect something more than just a normal street, something that would be fit in with the arts, the sculptural art statement that Decatur's making, and with their sculptural tour and their large investment in the sculpture and the arts. So this street has more of an artistic flair to it, if you will. But yet it ties into the fabric of what the other streetscapes will be, and eventually
and hopefully within the downtown area. Not as rich as this one and as large, but we will still be using the same pavers, street lights. Some of the street furnishings will also be uniform throughout the downtown area. So in that one block area, we started out with the committee, and we actually did some sketches and original concepts of what it could look like. And this is the one that was focused on. We focused on. And I think this basic drawing's been around maybe for at least 12 to 18 months, somewhere in that time frame. And it was always, from the very beginning, thought about having some concrete unit pavers in there to bring color and texture and excitement to the space, more than just asphalt drive, a road, and concrete sidewalks. Although we do have concrete intermixed in this. And the concrete on the drawing is the lighter gray, the darker gray, and the kind of brownish red are the concrete unit pavers. The space also allows for tents to be put up for different events that can occur. Those are actually depicted upon the drawing by the white dashed lines, and that's just two possibilities. There's a multitude of tent sizes and possibilities that could be put on the street. We still maintain, I'm sorry, the street goes from a two-way system to a one-way street in the new design, and it would be one-way going from 2nd Street toward the river or heading east. And you would have parking, parallel parking on one side of the street in the one-way system. And that would be on the north side, yeah. I think I have that right. So we do allow for parking on the street. And there was actually some studies done by myself informally and others over the time period, over this long time period, looking at how many cars are typically on the street. And this does, I think, allow for 7 or 8 cars to be parked on the street, which is typically what we found down there on the street for most of the time. Now there's benches, there's also what we call bollards, or they're 42-inch tall round elements that help define the traffic pattern. We have raised the street so there's no longer curbs on the street. So when it's shut down at either end, the street functions as a level plaza from end to end. So you ramp up at either end to get into it. So when you're closing the plaza down, a really clever thing occurs. We take the bollards that we have, and they are picked up and put at either end of the street and at the alleyways to block traffic off. And then when they come out of where they're currently housed, there's a plate that goes over the top of that, so you just don't have a hole there. So when you're done, you just put them right back in their place. So it's really a nice way to control the traffic and use bollards to do that.
And where are the bollards when the street is open?
When the street is open, they would be along the sides, the two sides of the street. Let's say like parking meters, where you would find typically parking meters and that kind of stuff. What would be like the back of the curb, if you will, on a typical street. And that's there to help keep the traffic on the street during the time when it's functioning as a street. So the trees, the planters under the trees, the benches, the bollards, the street lights, all those elements function for keeping the car into the street and not just to go up on the sidewalk, for instance, and drive around. And this is done quite frequently in a lot of places. This is a very standard procedure, if you will, or design philosophy when you're trying to create a people place. And that's really what this is about. This is a people place where the person's more important than the automobile is. But yet we're addressing the automobile for utilitarian daily function. But when there's an event going on, this is a one-level plaza all the way across. So the pavers then create kind of a, you can see on here it's more of a free form, artistic form, rather than a rigid looking squared off. And it's only exclusive to Madison. And then as it turns the corner, you can see at the top of the illustration, those flow right on into what will hopefully someday be the typical streetscape improvements of downtown, which is a brick band behind the back of the curbs by the parallel parking, and then a concrete walk inbound toward the buildings. And in that brick band would house your street lights, your trash receptacles, your benches, bike racks, those kinds of elements would happen in that brick band. So that's your slow place where you can sit down between the parked car and then the people walking back and forth around the concrete path. And that's just a template right now. That's not, in stone right at this time. That design could change or be modified slightly. But the whole intent is that materials pull themselves out onto the other street corridors. Now, this becomes your gateway from a pedestrian standpoint, both visually and from Second, coming down through Madison on this plaza onto the river frontage, which hopefully will become a beautiful parks and a series of different events and facilities happening along the riverfront, which are just across First Street. So this would be the gateway into that area. So it also functions as a view corridor and the gateway down into the riverfront activities at a later date as things begin to develop in the future. The light fixtures are going to be the same as what we've actually went through the whole process of selecting light fixtures for Madison Street in 3 blocks, and they'll be the first ones that will be put in the downtown, the new light fixture, and those light fixtures will also be on this plaza here. So we're not changing to something different. They're shorter? They're a little shorter, correct, but not much. We put them up on concrete. On here we needed to put them on concrete 30-inch base, because when you have a special event and you shut the street down, you could have a big truck in there delivering tents, or maybe you have a semi pulling down the street to unload stuff, or people bringing food in for the event. So we got to make sure, with vehicles being able to drive all over during a special event, that those can be substantial, that somebody bumps into, we don't knock a light pole over. And the benches are removable. The bollards are removable. The only fixed element on the street when it's open would be the trees, obviously, and that's why you do not see any trees in the center of the design, so that's more flexible for tent structures. But the only elements that would be in there are 3 or 4 light poles that are obviously not movable. Other than that, that's an open canvas to have events happen of different forms and layouts. The alleyway still functions and goes through, except it could be closed down, obviously. And then another neat thing about this, you could actually close down half of the street and have a function on half the street and leave the other half open. Whether that would ever happen, but you could. So you have that flexibility too. The lighting, we've studied the lighting, and the foot candles will be a lot brighter than it currently is out there. And we're hoping to get some festive lighting, or what we call festoon lighting or Edison lighting, at either end of the street. It's an alternate in the budget that would really bring that festive feel at either end as a gateway into the plaza from a lighting standpoint. So that is basically the rundown on it, and I believe maybe I can entertain questions if anyone has any.
My first question was right in the center, that round area.
Yes.
Is that going to be concrete?
Yes, that's concrete. It was both a budgetary consideration and also a design consideration. We are getting to the point with the amount of pavers, we felt that it needed some breathing room and go back to a concrete there. But it's going to be a really nicely scored concrete, different. We just show a cross-hatching on the drawing you're seeing, but it's going to be a little more elegant than that in the final design. This is an older drawing that you're looking at here. So that'll be back to a concrete panel in the middle. So the lighter concrete, again, the lighter gray is concrete, including the center. At one time it was shown as a concrete unit paver, right? And I should make that distinction too, that we have a tendency, I even do it sometimes, slip and say brick pavers. Brick is a clay product, which is softer, falls apart, not as good PSI strength. These are concrete unit pavers, and I brought the 2 colors with me, and actual paver samples that we'll be using on the street. And when you look at the, what shows on there is the darker gray, would be this gray here, this, and the other one is the kind of the reddish brown one I have in my hand. The interesting fact about these is most concrete's like 4,000 psi. These are 8,000 to 10,000 psi. So the strength of these are more than double standard concrete, and they're also denser. Not that it matters here, but my patio is made out of a thinner version of these, and I rarely have to shovel snow. I usually broom it off because it doesn't even stick on it like it does concrete. It brooms right off almost. So that's the product, and that product is installed on top of a 4-inch concrete slab, which is then on top of compacted stone underneath that. and the paver's set on a 1.5 inch sand setting bed, leveling bed on top of the concrete. And that's a very standard detail that's used throughout the country. There's thousands of projects that have used this same method, whether they're just sidewalks, whether they're sidewalks and crosswalks, whether they're full streets, like you go down to Ball State, and you look at the bell tower they built right in the middle of the campus. All that street is all concrete unit pavers like that. There's several streets and turnarounds and crosswalks around the Notre Dame area that we've worked on. Our office has done some work on. They're all concrete product like this that have been there for years and years and years. Very salt tolerant when you throw salt on them, more so than concrete or some other images. I'm going to go to, I apologize on this one, let's go to the Ball State one at the top. That's what I was referring to. See Ball State, some of the driveway.
That's JPR work there? That's your company's work?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
Do that, no. And then the next photo after that is one that we did. In fact, I did this one intentionally because you can see the concrete's breaking up. And in all fairness, it's probably because of the manhole, but the pavers are in great shape, and that's been there for multiple years, 5 years or more. And those are crosswalks of pavers. There's a failing crosswalk in Fort Wayne that I went out to look at a couple of years ago, and lo and behold, it was made out of clay. It was made out of brick pavers instead of concrete unit pavers. It was put on a crushed stone base instead of on a concrete base. And they've had the city of Fort Wayne put a couple of these in. What I'm thinking of is on State Boulevard on the east end of town. I'm trying to think of the cross street, but anyway, it's had failure in busting up with the pavers because of freeze thaw, and the water's getting inside of the softer clay and freezing, and water's very powerful force, and it's breaking it up. We've had walks and crosswalks done in communities for excess of 10 years to 15 years, and they still look almost like the day they were put down. Now, will you have something occurs to them? Yeah, you can drop something incredibly heavy on it off of a truck or something and crack it or break it. The biggest thing you see is you'll see black tire marks on it. But you're going to see that on any concrete or stamped concrete or any lighter product. Asphalt's the only thing you really don't see tire marks on because it's the same color as tires, basically. So, but any other kind of material, you'll see some of that. Mm-hmm. We've even selected a paving pattern on Madison Street that's both a herringbone. It is a herringbone pattern. And the reason for that is that when you run pavers in a straight line and you have twisting car traffic at the same time, like trying to get into a parallel parking space, they'll eventually move those pavers slightly because these are not mortared in. These are butt joint together on a sand setting bed on a concrete base, and then you rake in a polymetric sand that tightens them up in between. And if you have a pattern that's very directional, you can actually move those slightly over time, and you'll see that in a lot of communities where they tried that. So we tried to come up with a pattern that's neutral, that addresses that potential problem. Will you get some minor differential in settlement where you get a brick that's a little proud of another one? That happens, yeah. But it's within a tolerance that's typically acceptable. If you drop a snowplow blade, a steel blade right down on the pavement, I mean, I'm assuming most of them are running on the skids or they have some rubber at the bottom of them or whatever, but you could potentially chip them, yeah.
But you get a bad paver, you replace it.
You replace it, whereas you get concrete, you got to saw cut and do that. If you notice also on the pavers, these have an eased edge on all of our pavers. And what that does is it really helps you from catching, a lot more from catching the edge of it and pulling it up or busting it, because it is an eased edge on them. And it also gives it a nice look, a nicer shadow line to it when they're put in. Questions?
Looking at the second page here, and this is just me wondering.
Oh.
At the bottom, the two Madison Street sections.
Right.
It appears like it's not all one.
The curb's still in this one.
Yeah,
By the way,
okay.
it's an old,
Okay.
it's an old one.
I just want to make sure
The curb's gone on that. That's a great catch. I didn't even notice it until now. Because these were drawings done June of last year, so they're almost a year old.
Okay.
And since then, we've taken the curb out and made it flat spot,
Okay.
working with the committee.
Okay. Council members, questions, comments?
I have no question, but I do think this will be fabulous. This will be just top notch. I want to thank everyone that's been involved from day one with completing it or getting to this point. So,
Tony Murray, Sandy Collier, and Max Miller are the three people representing. They're from the Main Street, Decatur Main Street Design Committee, I believe it is. And they've sat in on all the meetings, a lot of hours, and a lot of discussion.
One question I have is, I think very initially there was talk about being able to hang or like string wires across to have the canvas covering as a tent. Obviously now we're talking about poles and tents. How are they connected to the ground?
Okay, great question. I slid right over that. We have a very slick method that we're doing. I call it a cleat. And I wish I had one with me, but it's, I don't know if it's on the last page.
It's not.
It's not. It's a metal, it's metal, and it's probably about this big. And there's a steel bar that goes across it like this. And it gets anchored in concrete band flush with the wall, flush with the pavement. So you can plow, it's not in the way. But underneath that steel rod, it cups underneath like this. So you just take the ropes from the tent, go right down, pull it in there, pull it up and tie it off.
Pass that around.
I'll pass that around. You'll see how poorly my explanation was.
Now, I've seen that picture, I guess. Now, what's the chance of water accumulating and freezing in that, or?
Very easily. Yeah, there's a hole that drains it out the bottom. Typically what I would do, I'd have a little small air compressor thing when you go out there, a powerful leaf blower. And what they do, you can nozzle those down to a fine nozzle, and they'll just go like that and blow any leaves or dirt or debris out of there. So they put the rope on. There might be some water in there, but it drains out in the winter and it's not going to freeze. I mean, that's cast metal. I mean, you can see that's not going to So that's how we tie the tents down. The only thing about those have to be in an exact specific place. Therefore, the tents have to be ordered, and we've gone through a big process of talking about tent sizes and flexibility of tents. I even called Craig, and we had a lengthy discussion about it too, because you have some other needs for tents. So, and thanks for the lead over in Ohio. That helped out a lot. So we can have a tent size and a rope dimension that goes, the ropes are like 5 to 7 feet out from the side of the tent. And they come down at an angle, and it depends on how high your opening of the tent is. Whether it's a 7-foot or 8-foot opening on the side that you walk under. And so you're not driving stakes into this paving, you're not sandbagging them. Now you can still do that. I mean, you can still do a pop-up tent that requires sandbags around it, a small little guy. And you might want to do those for small merchants, like a little flea market or whatever. But when you put up a big tent, this is the mechanism that we'll be tying those down with. And these have been used in several places downtown Fort Wayne that people have put these in. And it's really nice.
Tony, Sandy, or Max, any comments from you folks? Just here to answer questions.
Now's the time to ask them.
Yeah.
I think the concern at the last meeting was not necessarily the design as much as is it materials that our crew can maintain 5 years from now, easily. And two, speaking for myself, was more not can we make this beautiful, but can we pay for it? And there was questions as to the financial setup of it, and
That, we'll talk about that next.
I got a list of projects they had done from Kevin here this last week, and I was up in Auburn and checked out that plaza on Jackson and 7th Street. And I was very impressed with the layout, the way that you had the brick, the sound system. They had a stage, and there was music going. It was a very comfortable place. I thought it was very cool. And then I called him or I emailed you and explained that to you, and thought it was pretty cool.
Kevin then in turn forwarded, because I asked him, I said, is there any places that we would have the same type of traffic that you've done in the past years? And he forwarded some more places in Fort Wayne, but those were mainly pedestrian, but the Parkview Hospital, where the emergency room entrance is, and also where they enter for orthopedics, and what was there? There was some other one.
Heart Institute.
And Jeremy and I talked. I didn't get the chance to go see those, but Jeremy went up there. Do you want to report on that, Jeremy?
I spent the last couple of weeks and took all the questions and the concerns from the last meeting. Craig and I discussed a few. Had another meeting with Kevin and Corey, and I actually reached out to other communities around that I know have been doing different improvements like this, just to get their feel for it. Explain the engineering, the base for the whole construction as a whole. I feel real comfortable with the construction of this. A lot of the defects that the other 8 communities reported back was they wish they would have done a 4-inch concrete base underneath because they're having a lot of settling issues, some trip and fall issues, which you would not have with the 4-inch reinforced compacted base. Looking at it in general, Kevin, 100% right. I was not able to attend all the meetings. I do have a pretty good handle though on the design in this project. From meetings that I've missed, I made the majority of them up on the sent out to Kevin in Kevin's office to try to get caught up on what's there. So I'm comfortable with it as long as we can afford to do the project.
Just my one question is when you guys were designing or whatever, are we on the high end of the cost spectrum, or is it in the middle, or?
No, we can add a lot more to it.
Well, we cut a lot already.
We cut a lot out. We took the cost into consideration. We worked with JPR on their cost estimates. We went through an itemized list. I think everybody's seen that. Picked some things that we could either have city employees do or some cost savings that way. So we picked some nice stuff. We picked some, where nice stuff needs to be picked. We picked some made some economical choices where those wouldn't hurt the project to have a cheaper version of what we were looking at initially.
Richmond just debuted they have a downtown plaza that was one of their stellar projects, and it was a $2.5 million plaza. Not much difference in size to our block.
Wow.
So, as far as being affordable and responsible with the cost, the committee's done a good job of compromising and really working with Kevin and JPR's team about can we scooch this one way or the other to be responsible on the cost end.
And we all designed this together, the committee, and I always tell people that it's easier to do good design when your budget's unlimited. It really brings out the quality of how you're designing if you have a limited amount of money and still make it sizzle and have bang to it. And I think this does. At the end of the day, this is going to be a beautiful space for a good price tag.
If I could add, then Andrew, who works for JPR,
Andrew Cunningham,
he came down to Decatur the other day. Melissa, Wiley, Craig, and I all went to Innovative Concepts and met with Andrew and Chris Caston, and that was pretty exciting. Just to sit there and listen to the ideas get tossed around, and Chris Caston tell us the things that he could do, and
with the sound. Is that
with the sound? Yeah. It was pretty
so
neat.
The street lights really become, I call them Swiss Army knives, because they have speakers on them, they have light poles on them, they have banners on them, they have waterproof duplex outlets on them, both high, both low. They have a light on them, so they have a lot of functions going on to them. So they are really the heart of the plaza that everything centers on. So having those speakers up there, either now or later, we're doing some stuff that you can do additive stuff later. For instance, the speakers, we'll have the hubs on the poles to put those up later, and if they're cost prohibitive right now, you can do it 2 years from now.
But won't be all pre-wired.
Right. And the plant material, these trees you see at either end, there's 6 at either end, come out of a rectangular little raised curved planting bed, And that could just be mulch now, or we can go ahead and plant those heavier right now, so that's an alternate. So we're trying to put alternates in this, additive alternates, so when the bids come in, we have the ability to get within price and get it done. But nothing will be eliminated that couldn't be added later on.
And the tree would be some type of a tree where the root base would not...
Right. We're doing one that's not, like a soft maple or something that would get roots that would heave up everything around it. Correct.
Do the trees eventually get big, or are they a tree that stays small in stature?
They're medium-sized trees, and most all trees, if you look up a tree and it says its size, that's usually one that grows out in the middle of a farm field, it's that size. When you're in an urban setting with lime base all around it from the roads and that, it never reaches the same size as that. So we've sized these trees as a nice urban tree that's tolerant to salt, because that's very important. And also, they'll take reflected heat, which we have a lot of. We don't have out in the middle of a farm field. And they also will have leaf clutter that will be the larger, a little bit nicer leaf, and not a bunch of smaller ones that are all over. So we're down to one or two selections on the trees. We have 100% put that to bed again.
Other questions or comments before we move on to the next discussion?
Not on design.
Okay. Stay put, because the next thing I want to discuss is the project itself. At the last meeting, we discussed the timetable as to when to do this. I passed out something about the budget, the cost of doing the project, and at the time we felt as though we were about $100,000 shy of being ready to do the project. So we decided to wait and bid it at the latter part of this year, and then try to do the project next year. Well, since then, my clerk treasurer over here, she hit me up with a question the other day. She said, "Hey Ken, are we going to use this money that we have set aside for the regional partnership?" And I said, "What money is that?" And she said, "Well, we discussed it some time ago that we would set aside $130,000 for Madison Street and an additional $50,000 of in-kind services, $180,000 total, for Madison Street for our 20% match if we applied for Regional Cities money." And I said, "Well, we didn't get that done. We weren't ready. We didn't have everything we needed to do that, and that funding is gone. So we can't apply for that. Thus, we have money ready to go, which was already earmarked for Madison Street. We have more than the $100,000 that we needed. So at this time, I would like to now discuss, do we want to let Kevin continue, get us to 100%, get this thing put out to bid now, or not now, but within the next month, with the timeline of constructing the plaza between probably July and November-ish, so that, yes, we wouldn't use it this summer, but it would be ready to go all of next year? Or do we want to stay put and bid it later? We discussed this scenario. I discussed it with Dan, and I discussed it with Jeremy. First, for Jeremy, if it was something that his department could handle, because we have Monroe Street sidewalk, streetscape lighting going on. We've got Schaefer Building coming down. This is one more thing. And Jeremy is confident that they can handle it. I talked to Dan because the utilities. We weren't certain of the funding that it's going to be on Master Drive. We're relatively sure it's going to be in the $300,000 range for the water mains. And I said I wanted Dan to examine whether or not our utility fund would be strong enough to do this. And Dan feels pretty confident that we're good to go utility-wise. Jeremy commented, "Hey, if council wants to go ahead and proceed with the bidding, okay, we have the engineer's estimate. If the bids come in high, we simply reject the bids and do it again when we talked about 2 weeks ago, later in the year, when builders aren't as busy, and maybe we would get more aggressive bids. But Jeremy, you were kind of feeling somewhat confident that if we put it to bid now, that it probably would come in on budget.
Yeah, it's a very strong market right now. You really can't say for sure. A lot of the concrete guys are getting rather busy. What Kevin and I talked about on Friday was potentially entertaining the thought of extending substantial completion to like March or April of 18. That would give you more flexibility.
They don't get it
contract more flexibility for completion, and will probably actually help your bid numbers a little bit, because they would know that, hey, we'd have to get the concrete base in before it froze, but they would be lining up when it worked, because the pavers really can be put down in January, February, March, depending on what the temperatures are. And that would actually spread your payment out a little bit into 18. I'm not saying that there's a financial problem, because there's not, but that could help your bid amount. And it would be ready in early 18 for festivals and stuff. So that was just another thought that we had. Just as an option.
Jeremy actually had that idea last Friday, and I think it's an excellent one, because what it does, it takes the pressure off the contractor going, I got all this stuff going on right now, if I have to have this done by November before Thanksgiving or something, blah, blah, blah. And really, in reality, what advantage would it be for you, other than you might have a street that might be closed down a little longer, but you're not going to have a festival on it in November, December, January, so it allows them to breathe a little more and go, I can get all this stuff done, we can get all the demo stuff done. Allows the city, because you got some utility stuff to do, get it down to the Shaker building could come down, and then they could go ahead and get the concrete work in, and then maybe call it a day for the winter.
It really gives everyone some flexibility. It gives us some flexibility, the contractors some flexibility, and it would also show you on your bid numbers. I'm not saying that that's the direction you need to go, but that was an option that Kevin and I discussed on Friday.
Is weather have any bearing on the actual placement of the pavers? Can you put pavers down year-round?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
And,
They're dry stacked.
right. There's no mortar involved, so yes, as long as it's not a blizzard or you got
right.
snow.
But temperature doesn't matter.
No.
You can have time to get all the infrastructure under Madison Street before this thing takes off?
Depending on the start date of the contractor, we should be, we're pretty much setting into downtown now. We'll be here the rest of the summer.
Okay.
With other things that we have going on.
What would be the latest outside start date that you would desire? The reason I ask is I talked to Mike Blee and Kevin Biggs yesterday. They got some feedback from their tax council. There's probably going to be some changes made to the loan agreement, and I haven't gotten that information from the tax attorney yet, so I asked them to get that to me. I was hoping to have it yet today, but I didn't receive it. So as soon as I get it, I need to get that down to Tom Pitton, and we need to work out the changes so that we can have this ready to go for our next meeting. I was hoping to do it tonight, but it's going to have to wait till the first meeting in June. So once we have that in place, then we can get the loan agreement signed, we can have the promissory note signed, we can cut a check to them, but realistically, we need to have a certain period of time for them to get the building down.
Correct.
So I guess the issue is, how much time can I give them? Originally, I was talking about July 15th, and if we're not going to get this all put together before then, before early June, I'm not sure that gives them enough time to do what they need to.
I really think that you know that the extent of Mr. Biggs and the fate of that building prior to Kevin getting everything completed. And then we can just put the start date in and a substantial completion date in the contracts and the bid documents once we know that prior to an advertisement.
I think maybe to answer your question a little, maybe hopefully the right way or a little differently, is that if we consider what we want to finish this year as the flat concrete work before the weather sets in, to do that, to get in there and have the demo done, get that forming done, get all that in, you probably don't want to start much later in the very end of August, maybe the 1st of September at the very latest. You've got like 2 months of work in there, which should be enough for a block to do that flat work and some of that stuff.
So if we used a date of August 15th for them to have the demo done,
Right.
that would be sufficient?
I think that would be...
Okay.
You're seeing a lot of concrete contractors flowing really, really strong right now. Probably to the point that hopefully by late summer or fall, they're starting to catch their breath and get caught up on some of these road projects.
Okay.
You would get an opportunity, or they would have an opportunity to come in late summer, early fall to be able to start some.
That's going to be the key contract. I mean, when they bid this, somebody that can come in and get this concrete work done. It's a lot of concrete work on this project. So to have the time to do that and have the manpower to do it, to get in there is going to be the key on the bid. To answer your question on how fast we could bid, I just found that out today. If we were to fast track this right now, we could have the bids ready to go out on May the 30th. We could receive bids on June the 22nd, which I believe council meets in on the 27th, the following Tuesday, if I did my every other... You meet
1st and 3rd.
Oh, okay, maybe I didn't do that right. I was doing it every 2 weeks. But we'll be close, and then construction could start in 1st of July. But that might be too early.
Right.
So now we might be able to breathe a little bit on that with what you're saying.
And that's something I'd need to check with Kevin to see, does that, if we can do it August 1st, well then we could maybe do the bidding a bit sooner, but otherwise, I think we need to give them enough of a window to get that building down.
Yeah, I think that emphasizes even more what Jeremy was saying, the philosophy that we get it started, but the completion date is the following year. That helps this whole thing out a lot to do that.
I like the August 1st, opposed to August 15th.
I say if we have the money and we can do it, let's have him get it ready, put it out for bid in August, and give him a start time on August 31st, because it doesn't make any difference if it started next month, or as long as it's ready before the... And I think the price might be a little more competitive too.
Yeah, right.
Do you need a motion or anything, or what do you want to do?
Well, I think that's what we were looking for.
I'll make a motion that we wait till Tim Baker gets the information back, and then we proceed with them, with their bidding.
Coordinate the timing.
And then get the bid ready.
Okay.
Together.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second to proceed with to complete the project in a timeline that would make it ready for 2018 usage. And
One question. Does the additional money also take into consideration, we're going to do the patronicity funding?
yes,
Okay.
once we have this approval, we can move forward with that.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition? Thank you.
And thank you again
Thank
to
you.
the Main Street folks for all of your work to get us to where we are.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Thanks for taking the time to come down, Kevin.
I'll be good.
Okay, thank you.
I have two gentlemen that have been patiently waiting.
Leave us the bricks, leave the bricks on the table, please.
Okay. Do you want another 5,000?
No, not till delivery date.
Seriously, I'll leave it here. Back in the back. Do you want me to leave it there?
Thank you.
Stacy and Trevor, come on up. I'm Stacy Summer and Trevor Hobbs. When Connect to Careers was founded, the cities and towns and county of Adams, in and around, were all tasked to support Connect to Careers, and we all agreed to contribute X amount of dollars a year for how many years was it?
The city of Decatur was 2016, 2017, for $25,000 per funding round per year.
Yep, and they're here tonight to kind of update us on the status of Connected Careers, where it's going, and seek our support beyond.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Secretary, and Councilman, when I approached to give you
Sure.
the latest draft of the proposed ordinance, it's now seeking additional money What this is doing is it's being transparent so that the State Board of Accounts will be able to track public funding that was primarily previously dedicated to Organization A, which is Connect to Careers, so that is now being allocated to, a portion of it anyway, is being allocated to the Adams County Economic Development for the same specific purpose in which it was previously allocated by the City of Decatur. The reason for that is there's some litigation going on where the State Board of Accounts has kind of looked under the tent and has seen where funds were diverted and there's no transparency. This is a preemptive attempt to comply with that so that, number one, the funders, the City of Decatur, Adams County, the other municipalities in Adams County, can trace where their funds went and what they're being used for, and so that there's no misappropriation locally as well as also at the state level with the State Board of Accounts, if it would ever surface.
And beyond the legal aspect of it, we just want to be clear that, that the purpose of the funds were donated or given for a particular purpose, and we're still combating that purpose, combating the problem of workforce development. We're just doing it through a slightly different way.
Yeah, and if you look at the actual proposed ordinance, it basically states that there were some dual services or dual purposes being served by the two entities, and this is a temporary commitment to do it for an organizational, for managerial personnel and financing at this point. So I'd be happy to entertain. We're not asking for any additional allocation. We're just asking for the approval to appropriate or to reallocate the funds that were previously committed by the City of Decatur to from Connect to Careers to the Adams County National Board.
Trevor, for the benefit of the council, maybe you could, I know that a couple of members have been on the board, but maybe update where
I've
Connect to
spoken
Careers...
with a few of you in great depth about what's going on. But when I came on board, as I've discussed before council before and in numerous meetings, it became pretty evident pretty quickly that workforce development is one of the major things we need to be working forward with in this county in order for me to successfully do my job of bringing in industry. We're going to need to show we have a robust workforce that can support that industry, and we have several companies that are growing in this county that are going to need workers for that. And right now we're at basically what's considered full unemployment minus frictional unemployment and the like, but we're pretty close to that number. We're very, very low unemployment. It's difficult for companies to get the workers that are required. So we want to aid them both in kind of a three-pronged approach to workforce development. One, we want to train workers that we have in order to fill more sophisticated positions, which would raise the income of the average worker by having more training, being able to command more dollar, and would help the economy, but further would open up positions at the base level for people without the training to come in and fill up, so we would be able to get more workers and more people in jobs. Secondly, would be workforce attraction and have initiatives designed to promote the county and the jobs within the county to attract people to come work and hopefully live here. And third would be retention and create efforts in order to keep the talented youth we have. Everybody's heard of the brain drain that goes on in Indiana, where a lot of talented and well-educated youth are leaving for different areas of the country that are kind of the hot trending places. And we want to kind of work with the cities and the schools to kind of provide incentive for students not to leave, so we can have a continuing growing workforce and the like. And that's not a one-man job. And when I came in, though, that's something I wanted to work on. And I was approached very early by Ryan Noblet, who at the time was the executive director of Connect to Careers, saying that he was tackling these issues, and we had some very informative and good meetings, and kind of had some sessions where we kind of brainstormed together as how could our two groups merge our workforce development strategies in order to not overlap and to go forward. And in those discussions, I ended up working with the Connect to Careers board on kind of helping to kind of revise their strategy for where they were at that point, because when you start an organization, your strategy is going to change as you get down the road based on the reality. So I was involved in discussions on realignment of their strategies. Soon after that,
well, fortunately and unfortunately, fortunately for Ryan received a different position that was financially better off for his family and decided to pursue other endeavors. And so we were left at kind of where do we go from here? Given that, the managerial oversight strategic planning I was already involved in and helpful with, we didn't need to duplicate that with two executive director level positions working on the same thing. That Connected Careers trusted me based on our discussions and planning enough that to go forward and hire a workforce development person that would report directly to me. I would oversee the day-to-day operations of said employee, and Connected Careers would transform rather than a daily organization into more of a think tank role, and to be able to utilize their vast experience and knowledge to kind of do some high-level thinking on how we as a community can improve workforce development. So it's kind of, they would take an advisory role, and my employee and myself would report to them. Haven't decided yet, but every other to every 3 months, and get some more think tank type, bringing more different people than just the organization, but bringing a wide variety of people with knowledge of the issue and get some brainstorming together. But meanwhile, the day-to-day activities would fall to economic development.
And to be clear, I do want to distinguish my role here. I am an attorney here in Decatur. I'm here as a board advocate at this point. I'm not representing Connected Careers. I just wanted to disclose that. Trevor's done a good job of summarizing where we've gotten to. This is just, again, to make sure that there's transparency so that you know where the money's being used, and so the state board, if they would ever step in. And so we've got a paper trail that talks about those allocations.
If you'd like to see, I have the job description of the employee that I can circulate. I don't think I have enough for everybody.
I think a lot of us have seen
Okay.
it. I'll share with them.
If anybody would like to see it who hasn't seen it, I can kind of summarize. I have the quick description. It's anybody else?
Okay, I'll put it on the record.
You want to see one, Matthew?
Good.
But basically, the main jobs going forward are going to be to meet with the local businesses and become kind of the point of contact for all workforce development initiatives in the local businesses, local government, and any other groups such as Connected Careers. We have received that Connected Careers started a grant for workforce development through OCRA, the state, that we have kind of taken over. And so we have $400,000 in money for Wells and Adams County designed for workforce development adult education classes. So they would be taking over the responsibility of filling those classes, organizing those classes with the content provider, making sure Adams County businesses are getting a fair or more than fair representation of the $400,000 we're splitting with Wells County, and making sure we're doing the right classes for the companies that need it. Secondly, I hope they'd organize job fairs in 2 job fairs per year in the county, bringing in area businesses that need workers and promoting it beyond the county. And the goal is not to do the same old thing we're promoting within the county, but to really push out to promote these job fairs outside the county to get people from the neighboring counties, Ohio, to come in and see what jobs we have here. Along those lines, to go to job fairs in neighboring communities, especially at colleges for higher education grads, and promote with a list of all the jobs that are available in Adams County, and promote those jobs at a booth, where if a company needs maybe 1 or 2 workers, it might not be worth their while to go to Ball State and Purdue and those different job fairs when they graduate. But if we can kind of amalgamate all the different jobs and go representing all the Adams County jobs through Adams County Economic Development, we can have a presence there and hopefully be able to attract some of those workers. And finally, create new programs based on the discussions with everybody in conjunction with myself, and to promote workforce development in the county region-wide in order to let people know that we're doing good work for part of it as economic development. And what this would do is really open things up for me to focus on the other areas of economic development, such as business retention and expansion and business attraction, that it would be difficult if I was handling what sounds like a full-time job.
When do you anticipate filling this position, Trevor?
I'm hoping once we get the approval, I'm going to start looking as we're getting the approval, but I'm hoping as soon as we get the approval and to have someone ready to go. So I'm hoping by, next month to have someone starting.
Do you anticipate then, this is the funding, the current funding, and the remaining payments that you're asking to be transferred from Connected Careers to the EDC, is that something that you'll be coming to request a renewal or re-up for 2 years?
There's a renewal that will probably be coming in the future.
Yeah.
At this point, we wanted to make sure that the funds that had already been committed, we had the freedom to allocate those as we just...
And in the future, it would be directly with the EDC?
That's correct. I think that we may go ahead and ask for the recertification to still come to Connect Careers, because this is only as long as the funding is committed.
Okay.
And so if the renewal comes in and there's a different direction, this is a temporary bridge for the moment, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that we're testing the water to see how well this model works at this point. And we are going to be going on the road to Bern next Monday, or next Tuesday, and then to Geneva. So we're going to be making the rounds, and then some other councilman will fill in for Monroe and Adams County as my law firm representatives. So I didn't anticipate getting into this much of it. I was more concerned with making sure that everybody that's elected official here that's responsible for public funds was of a comfort level to understand you committed it to Connect Careers, same mission, it's going to be economic development, so it's going to go from one not-for-profit to another not-for-profit, and we want to make sure that that was clear to everybody involved in the decision.
And to Tim Baker's question, my idea is I don't want to come ask for money because we don't have a proven model yet and more money. We kind of got to start to it and started to getting some work under Ryan, and then we're kind of going in a different direction. So I want to prove before I come and ask for more funding that this is a viable model, and give you something to base your decision on. That yes, we are helping. You'll see in the fuller job description, tracking successes and progress is a big part of the job, and I want hard data to say that your money is going to good use before I ask you for more money. And I further would like to go for the second round of funding and for continued funding to businesses as well, and help and ask for their funding and show them that it's worthwhile for them as well as for you. So yes, probably you'll see me again, but I'll have some concrete evidence that it's worthwhile.
Discussion from council? Questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
Sustain.
Yeah.
I have to sustain because I'm on that board.
Yeah.
I am no longer on board.
You're no longer on the board. Okay.
You're recusing yourself.
I'm refusing to
Recusing or abstaining.
Refusing. You can refuse.
Recuse. I'd be looking for a motion to introduce Resolution 2017-7 by short title.
7. Is it 7?
Yeah, we've got a couple that we're going to consider, but have already been given a number.
Sorry. I'll make a motion to introduce Resolution 2017-7 by short title.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Tim?
Resolution number 2017-7, Common Council, City of Decatur, resolution approving the reallocation of funds committed to Connect Careers.
Make a motion to adopt Resolution 2017-7.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second for adoption of Resolution 2017-7. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Sorry you had to wait so long.
Oh, that's fine. I learned a lot.
Do we need to sign this?
You know all about the Madison Street project now.
There's 3 copies we have to sign.
Okay, I think we have 2 or 3 event forms that we'll try to do next. Greg, do we have the event form for the EDS thing that you talked to me about? On June 11th, that is the weekend or the Sunday of the Abate Mayor's Ride, where all the motorcycles will come into downtown Decatur. And in conjunction with that, EDS what's the official name? Ed's Motorcycle Shop?
It's HD Motorcycle Service and Repair.
Yeah. Has asked for us to close off First Street between Monroe and Jackson from noon until 4 p.m. so that they can promote their own business there at Ed's. And
I think actually it's an anniversary or something for them, I believe.
Okay. It does say that, 5th anniversary open house, yes.
The problem with that is that during we have the detour.
The NDOT detour.
We discussed if we can, that for that period of time, whether it's okay if Jeremy, if we can reroute the detour down 2nd Street to Jackson versus First. I think
for those 4 hours.
I think they did that the other day for the tree people that were putting the
Asplund
lines up.
No, they did it the last 2 days.
The
Guys got across the street.
Yeah, that's fine, because that's what it's been normal here.
with all the Monroe Street construction. Yeah.
I didn't want to sign the event form until I
Right.
checked with you to make sure that we could do that, or
Yep.
wanted to do that.
Yep.
Jeremy's good with it.
I'll make a motion to approve the event form.
Second. Motion and a second to approve the event form for Ed's HD Motorcycle Service and Repair on June 11th. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
Okay, I'll give them a call tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
You want to pass this around to Jeremy and Les,
Yes.
get some signatures.
Have you got the event form for the other one? Okay.
Next event form, Melissa, where are you? There you are.
Winning with Wellness Adams County would like permission to do the pedestrian alley again during the weekend of the Decatur Sculpture Tour unveiling. The alley beside Sherwood-Williams, they have permission, same as usual.
Right. I've done this, I think, this would be the third or fourth year? Third year,
yeah.
to close the alley next to Sherwin-Williams there, and
Sounds good. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
The request.
Thank you.
council is restless. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same. Thank you. And got that one. Got that one. The next one is an approval of a beer garden at the Summer Concert Series in the alley area north of Madison Street between 2nd and 3rd Street, and that's hosted by the Chamber. Are you going to present that one, Craig?
I can.
Yes,
Yes.
please.
And previously for the Main Street, we had blocked off the alley. As you remember, during that time, we had also blocked off this alley. And then we waited until we could get the 4 groups together with the insurance and things, because we were exchanging insurance at this time. So basically, we were asking for a request to block off the alley that's north of the courthouse, going north and south into the 3rd Street parking lot behind Two Brothers. There's an area right there behind Brad Marks' building, Edward Jones. We were going to bring a fence across there that's going to take approximately 60 feet of fence to orange fence. And we're going to open it up at the south entrance of that alley. We're going to have entertainment and beer and wine.
This is for every...
Yes, for 6 shows.
For 6 shows.
The 6 shows go out this summer. We touched base with the fire department, the street department, and then Chief of Police.
Is this going to be in a tent, or is this an open area?
Basically
Fenced
a
off
fenced-in
area.
area.
Fenced-in area.
Range will probably grab a tent for a good
Yeah.
hour.
Make a motion to accept the request.
Second. A motion and a second to accept the request for the beer garden at Summer Concert Series. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Thank you. Are there any other event forms that I've forgotten?
Thank you for patiently waiting.
Yes.
Kind of a late entry here. It has been signed by the police and the fire chief and everything. I'm Chris from the Wet Spot, and we're doing our 6th annual Armed Forces Day benefit. It is this Saturday. Doors open at noon. The Color Guard will be presenting the flags at 2 p.m. with the opening ceremonies, and then followed by entertainment till 10 p.m. And
Very similar to last year.
yes, all 6 years. With the Monroe Street kind of blocked off there. We decided that trying to close down 2nd Street just isn't a good idea, as in previous years. So the only thing we're requesting is to shut down the alley between Jackson, between 1st and 2nd Street, from Jackson to halfway to Monroe. So basically just half the alley instead of in front of the building. Because I think that would just cause a traffic nightmare for everybody.
So you're behind your building.
Yes, behind our building, yeah.
It's been a good event for 5 years.
Yeah.
Make a motion to grant the...
About $14,000.
Second. Any other discussion before we vote? So the closing would be in the alley?
Yes.
Sufficient lighting and everything back there?
Yes.
Okay. I guess it doesn't get dark much still.
No.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the event form. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same. And you've already got the signatures from everyone, it looks like, so...
Who made the motion?
These two over here.
Matt made the motion, I second.
Thank you, sorry to keep you waiting out there.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. Thank you.
You have a legal notice that we don't need to make a matter of that, right? What was the legal notice for?
This one is for, that's what I want to do. Yeah, that's the advertisement for the additional appropriation.
We're going to have a resolution for an additional appropriation to the seated fund, but before we do that, I need to make a matter of record the legal notice that was publicized in the paper.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second to make matter of record the legal notice that was posted in the newspaper about the additional appropriation to the seated fund. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same. Thank you. And then next up then would be a resolution to approve $125,000 additional appropriation to the seated fund. Bill, let's talk about this one to us, will you?
This is to help pay for the funding for the demo of the Schaefer building. So we need
where we're moving the money around.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we didn't appropriate this money, so we have to have additional money. There's cash balance there, but that's why we have to request the additional appropriation.
Gotcha. Right.
It's for $125,000.
I'll make a motion to approve the 120.
We have to introduce
you're doing a resolution.
It's a resolution.
So we're going to introduce Resolution 2017-5 by short title.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to introduce Resolution 2017-5 by short title.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to introduce Resolution 2017-5 by short title. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same?
Resolution number 2017-5, additional appropriation.
Make a motion. I like that. Make a motion to adopt Resolution 2017-5.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second for adoption of Resolution 2017-5. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same. And we'll need everyone's signature on this. We're going to start it down there, Wiley. Okay, we're moving right along now, folks. We have a final reading of Ordinance 2017-4, amending Ordinance 2015-16, which was capital improvement plan, or our seated fund. We did this reading in its first and second readings 2 weeks ago this evening, and we're now ready to read it on its third reading and pass it.
Make a motion to place on third reading by short title only Ordinance 2017-4.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to introduce Ordinance 2017-4 on its third reading by short title only. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same.
Ordinance number 2017-4, short title, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Decatur, Indiana, which amends ordinance number 2015-16.
Make a motion to adopt Ordinance 2017-4 on its third reading.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second for adoption of Ordinance 2017-4 on its third and final reading. We'd have roll call vote, please.
Cam Collier.
Yes.
Craig Koshaw.
Yes.
Matt Dyer.
Yes.
Tyler Fulenkamp.
Yes.
Wiley Sir.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2017-4 has been adopted. And next, another ordinance to reestablish the CCD fund, CCD rate, excuse me. Who has that one?
I got it.
You want to explain that one also, Phyllis? Going too fast for you, huh?
Yeah, a little bit. Okay, what this ordinance is for is, over time, we establish a 5 cent for each $100 worth of assessed valuation to the CCD fund. And over time, over trending and reassessment, that gets lower and lower. So if we reestablish it, it'll go back up to the 5 cents. And that'll create approximately $30,000 in revenue.
Okay. So we went to...
Only want to pass this on first 2 readings, and then we'll have a public hearing on June...
2 weeks from now, June 6th. What's the number on this, Phyllis?
5. So what is it?
5?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to place ordinance 2017-5 on its first reading by short title.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to introduce ordinance 2017-5 in its first reading by short title only. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same. Tim?
Ordinance number 2017-5, short title, an ordinance reestablishing a cumulative capital development fund pursuant to IC 36-9-15.5.
Make a motion to pass ordinance 2017-5 on its first reading.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to place ordinance 2017-5 and pass ordinance 2017-5 on its first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Okay, I'm sorry, roll call vote.
Cam Collier.
Yes.
Craig Koshaw.
Yes.
Matt Dyer.
Yes.
Tyler Fulenkamp.
Yes.
Wiley Sirk.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to place ordinance 2017-5 on its second reading by short title.
Second that.
I have a motion to place ordinance 2017-5 on its second reading by short title only. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
Ordinance number 2017-5, short title, an ordinance reestablishing a cumulative capital development fund pursuant to IC 36-9-15.5.
Make a motion to pass ordinance 2017-5 on its second reading.
I'll second that.
I have a motion to pass ordinance 2017-5 on its second reading. I would have a roll call vote, please.
Cam Collier.
Yes.
Craig Koshaw.
Yes.
Matt Dyer.
Yes.
Tyler Fulenkamp.
Yes.
Wiley Sirk.
Yes.
Make a motion to table ordinance 2017-5 for its third and final reading on our next meeting on June 6th.
I'll second that.
And that would be following a public hearing?
Following a public hearing.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to table ordinance 2017-5 until our June 6th meeting following a public hearing on the same. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Thank you. Next. We need to discuss, as the department heads are starting to work on their budgets, we need to discuss pay raises for all city employees for next year and give them, we brought this up 2 weeks ago, we need to give them some guidance what kind of a figure to use on pay raises for next year. It can be a percentage, it can be a dollar amount. Have any of you given this any thought? Don't everyone speak at once.
What did we do last year?
2%.
I think for the ability to work out the budgets, I would propose the 2% estimate figure.
For 2018?
For 2018.
Any discussion on Wiley's?
And we're not committing to that, right? I mean, all we're doing is allowing you the budget for it.
That, yeah.
You don't want to go over that. Once we have it in the budget, you can't go beyond that. If you want to go less, you can, but...
Right, but we wouldn't be going, but we're not committed to the 2% either.
It can be less, but can't be more.
Right.
I would second Wiley's motion.
I have a motion and a second for a 2% pay raise to be given to the department heads to use in making their budgets for 2018. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Thank you. And last, I think it's last, I have a letter here from the chamber, and it's in reference to the Kikianga Festival. Decatur, the city of Decatur has been a sponsor for the Kikianga Festival for I'm not sure how many years. It will be Friday, it'll start on August 16th through the 20th, I'm sorry. And in order to present this high-quality event, our budget's over $8,000. We hope you will consider a generous contribution to the Kikianga Festival. Please see the attached form for contributions. We also have several sponsorship opportunities, total $1,500 for wood carvers. They have 3 levels of sponsorship, and I forgot to ask Phyllis what we did last year. They have a $1,000 gold sponsorship, a $500 silver, and a $250 bronze sponsorship. Craig, do you have any idea what we did last year? You're the
No, I don't, I'm
best
sorry.
director.
I can inform you of that. If you would like to know.
I apologize, I didn't look this up. We could table this until the next meeting if you would like.
I would
so that we
like
see.
to interject, though, too, we gave $1,000 to the sculpture tour this last time.
We did increase it, didn't we?
So,
I'd still
just
like to,
putting that out there as information.
if it's not time sensitive, can we table it and find out what we did last year?
Yep.
Report back
Yep.
next meeting?
It's not until August, that'll be fine, thank you.
Okay, then let's just drop the discussion. I don't need a motion or anything. We'll drop the discussion. I'll bring this back up at the next meeting, and we can make a decision at that time. Okay, thank you. The last thing that's on the agenda, actually, is one more resolution. And Tim, I'm going to let you introduce that resolution, if you would.
Well, would there be a motion to introduce resolution 2017-6? And then I will...
Make a motion to introduce ordinance 2017-6 by
Resolution, the whole
In
thing.
full.
In full.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion and a second to introduce Resolution 2017-6 in its entirety, not by short title. Take it away, Tim Baker.
Is that approved?
Oh, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same.
Okay.
Tim?
I have the privilege of reading a resolution that recognizes Roger Gage. Tonight's his last meeting before he retires, and this is very deserving. So, Roger and I started school together in first grade, so I've known him a long time, and I have great respect for what he did for the city. He's a great friend. So, this is Resolution 2017-6, short title. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Decatur, Indiana, which recognizes Roger W. Gage for his years of public service. Whereas Roger W. Gage has served as an active Decatur volunteer firefighter since June 10, 1982, and whereas Roger W. Gage has also served the City of Decatur commencing April 3, 1995, when he was appointed Assistant Superintendent of the city's Building, Planning and Zoning Department, a position he held until being elevated to serve as superintendent of the department on January 1, 1999. And whereas Roger W. Gage has served as superintendent of the Building, Planning, and Zoning Department under 3 consecutive mayors, Mayor Fred R. Ish, Mayor John L. Schultz, and current Mayor Kenneth L. Meyer. Whereas Roger W. Gage has announced his retirement effective May 31, 2017, and whereas Roger W. Gage, as superintendent of the Building, Planning, and Zoning Department, has fulfilled duties as the city's building inspector, planning director, zoning administrator, and flood control officer, and whereas Roger W. Gage has been instrumental in working with FEMA and the Maumee River Basin Commission to prevent construction in flood zones and to foster flood mitigation through flood buyouts, and whereas Roger W. Gage's experience, knowledge, approachability, and even-handedness has earned the respect of not only city employees and department heads, but also that of city residents, developers, and his peers statewide. And whereas the Decatur Common Council wishes to acknowledge Roger's service to our community and wishes to express its gratitude for his contributions to the city, Now therefore, be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Decatur, Indiana as follows. Resolved, the Common Council of the City of Decatur, Indiana finds that during his years of public service, Roger W. Gage has served the City of Decatur with distinction and honor. Resolved, the Common Council of the City of Decatur, Indiana finds that Roger W. Gage has been an effective leader of the Decatur Building, Planning, and Zoning Department and has fostered the city's reputation as being business-friendly and a safe place to live and raise a family by the manner in which he performed his many responsibilities. Resolved, that on behalf of themselves and on behalf of all citizens of the City of Decatur, the members of council wish Roger the very best and years of happiness following his retirement, and express their deepest gratitude and appreciation for his dedication and service to our community and its citizens. Resolved, the Common Council of the City of Decatur, Indiana hereby spreads this resolution among the records of Common Council and directs that a copy be delivered to Roger W. Gage in appreciation and in recognition of his outstanding public service and his efforts over the years to make Decatur a better and safer place for all. Duly passed, adopted, and resolved by the Common Council of the City of Decatur, Indiana on the 16th day of May 2017, signed by the members of the Common Council of the City of Decatur, Indiana, the Mayor of Decatur, and attested by Phyllis J. Whitwright, Clerk Treasurer. Congratulations.
Roger, how many meetings have you attended?
I want to thank you for making this top 5 as the longest one. A little over 500 I've probably been to.
Well, I thought since Sue came tonight, we'd make it a long one.
Yeah, there you go. So, well, I appreciate the kind words, and I, want to express my appreciation for working with 3 different administrations and all the work everybody's done, and especially the Plan Commission boards, BZA boards, and all the different people throughout the years have really been kind and put a lot of effort into that to help make this job a little easier. So, thank you very much.
We've got a good replacement. Kurt Whitty back there.
Kurt's catching on real good. He's finding out that there's
But I want
something new every day.
to challenge Kurt and let him know that while his feet don't look that big, he's got big shoes.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Now, I know that Roger will probably continue to come to council meetings in the future. And we'll welcome you, Roger, if you want.
The short ones.
Thank you, Roger. Yeah.
We need to adopt it, right?
I'm sorry, you better adopt it because you've already signed it.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance, or resolution 2017-6.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second for adoption of resolution 2017-6. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Thank you. Next thing I want to mention as part of the mayor's report is I want to introduce Scott Murray. As you all know, Cameron is going to be leaving council temporarily as he serves our country by going overseas. And Cam, you'll be here one more meeting, is that correct?
Correct.
Yep. The process of filling Cam's seat fell on the Adams County Republican chairman solely. Since Cam's district only involves one precinct, which basically all of our districts only involve one precinct, except Mr. Koshaw's. Our 3rd district involves 2 precincts. Don't ask me why. But anyhow, since Cam's district only involved one precinct, it was the sole discretion of the Adams County Republican chairman to select a candidate. And Scott has stepped up and asked to be considered, and Jerry Walker, Adams County Republican chairman, selected Scott. Scott, I'd just like you to introduce yourself, tell us just briefly a little bit about you, where you work and your family, and anything you want to say.
This is
my big brother. I'm Scott, I've lived here forever. I live down Marshall Street, everyone stop by. I have 2 kids, work at Wayne TV in Fort Wayne, and I'm going to try to help him until he comes back. That's it.
And
Available.
in that regard, just like Roger, you have some big shoes to fill up here.
Yeah.
So, and
Come back from exercise class.
That's so early.
and we'll bid our farewells to you at the next meeting, Cam. So be sure to be here.
Welcome aboard.
Okay. Last thing I want to say, I don't have to say, but I want to say, is just a little report on Master Drive. Jeremy and I were talking. The storm sewer portion of Master Drive and Washington Street is complete. That's done. And I hope the residents aren't getting too ouchy about, I don't know if that's the right word, waiting on more progress. The next phase of that project will be to replace the aging water mains, and that's caused a little bit of a delay as we're waiting on the engineering plans to come back. They are now back. They've been advertised, and those bids will be opened on May 30th. Jeremy will take them under advisement that day, and then we'll award it to the low bidder or contractor soon thereafter. Following the installation of the water mains, then, we'll be installing new curbs, driveway approaches, street lights, and then the final and last phase would be resurfacing of the entire Master Drive Street and a good portion of Washington Street. All in all, I believe once completed, the homeowners along Master Drive will feel that the long construction timeline was well worth it, because this has been long overdue, and I just want to thank the citizens of Master Drive for their patience while we get this project put together. So that's all I have from the mayor's side. And department heads, how about Greg?
I'm good, thank you.
Les?
Good.
Jim?
Good, thank you, but we're not letting Roger go to the department yet. Let's do the fire department for a while.
Kurt?
Yes, sir, I have 2 items. Building department would like to submit to the council a revision to city ordinance 93.07, sidewalk construction material. And I'd like to introduce a new ordinance on trench footings.
Okay. Yeah, he had emailed that to me. Do you have hard copies for everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I would like to pass those around this evening and let everyone review them. For several years, our local code, when it comes to concrete, has been for how many inches deep, Kurt?
5 inches.
And has not required any rebar, okay? And when local contractors do concrete work in Decatur, they use rebar, right, Jim? Yep. It's just, I mean, they're using rebar. This is just something that's going to update us to the standard that everyone is already doing. And then with the footers, explain that one a little bit, Kurt.
Well, common practice for any type of trench footer is to put 2 number 4 rebars horizontally through the footer. There's some out there that believe you don't need it, but it's common practice. Most of our contractors are doing it. Ran across 1 or 2 who tried to get around it. Unless you're going to do a soil test and provide some TD sealed drawings on that foundation, nobody can guarantee how that ground's going to freeze and
I think these are going to be no-brainers for us to pass, but again, I want to introduce them officially at the next meeting.
Okay.
And I want to thank you for bringing this up. It's something that, Roger's known that we need to do this. Roger just wanted to let the new guy do it.
Roger's had my back through this whole thing.
Absolutely.
He's cutting my teeth.
So, thank you, Kurt. Yep. Roger. Come on, this is your last chance, man.
No, thank you again for the kind words. I appreciate it. I enjoyed the experience. It was a nice ride.
Dan.
I just want to thank Roger for being the guy to work with over the years. I started on the Plain Commission and Board of Zoning Appeals before I actually was a employee here. His knowledge is amazing, and he's more modest perhaps over the years. He's always been helpful to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ann? Jeremy?
I echo a lot of Dan and Tim. I've known Roger ever since I can walk. You know, he's helped me a lot. City, construction, watched my back numerous times on fire scenes, called me a lot on the fire scenes. I just can't say enough. He's helped me, he's helped a lot of people. He won't definitely be messed around here. I just want to thank you for all that you've done.
Melissa?
Nothing, thank you.
I think that's all the department heads. How about council members? Tim, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I do. I just want
I
to...
figured you would.
I know. I'm not going to drag it out, but I do want to say that Raj is such a good guy and a great person to work with. He's common sense. He's got a great sense of humor about him, and he, to me, did his job the way it should be, and that is, he didn't throw up roadblocks to people. He tried to help them, tried to find a way to get things done, and that's why he's highly regarded throughout the state.
Yeah, I'll add to that. I remember when we interviewed Kurt and I had asked Roger to sit in on the meeting, and we were just talking about when you go out to make calls on inspections, and Roger says, yeah, you know, the builders, they pretty much get it. You know, you don't have to help them. They pretty much get it. You may have to call them out from time to time, but they get it. He says, but it's the do-it-yourselfers. And he says, you know, you won't realize how many times that you're just going to have to pitch in and help them. And he says, you know, rather than calling them out on something, telling them what they have to do, and then come back and still not done right, and coming back 3 or 4 times, it's just easier and the right thing to do to help them out. And I thought that was really cool of Roger to say that. It is a challenge to Kurt now, you know, that we work for the citizens. They're our boss. So Roger epitomized that, you know, and when he went out and called on the general public, if they did something wrong, he didn't just come down on them. He would help them through the process. So, thanks, Roger. Anything else, Tim? Phyllis, you have anything?
I'll truly miss you, Roger. Roger taught me a lot when I got my job. We went out and celebrated it, and I came to work with a hangover the first day. Thanks, Roger.
Any comments from the public this evening? No comments from the public. I would look for a motion to approve the claims.
Motion to approve the claims.
Second. I have a motion in 2 seconds to approve the claims. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same?
Motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. And a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, the same. We are adjourned.